Ever wondered why Foundables got more difficult to catch and depart more since the rebalance? Welcome to SOS Training. So I am back from the grave, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, it wasn't coronavirus. I got tested. My mum had me tested.
I'm not crazy. My mother had me tested.
I got tested for coronavirus. It wasn't coronavirus, it's just a nasty cold which I still got on my throat after a week and a couple of days, strangely. But now I'm well enough to do this video, which is great timing as I just launched this thing. I actually wrote this video yesterday, and it was going to be about the feature that was coming, and now the feature is here. So I had to rewrite it this morning, which is pretty cool. So we're going to go through absolutely everything, how it works, how we can tell what icons do what in the skills tree, and we also look at what I did, how I applied my stuff, and then what happens if you go down a one-track road, and what happens to all the books, because that's quite fascinating. If you concentrate on one thing, you get stuck after a little while. So what the fork is SOS Training? Well, essentially SOS Training is a skills tree much like your profession skills tree. The key difference is for everyday play with things on the map and in the wild, which is good because that's kind of like 90% of your gameplay really. So the profession skill tree that you've been working on since the beginning of the game is now called Combat Training, which kind of makes sense because it's Fortress Combat. So we are going to use the wonders of the new YouTube thingy bob tracking thing at the bottom. Remember I used to put those things on the top of the time trackers. YouTube have actually going to make it nice and easy, and I've embedded it into the player, which is super useful. So you can check out the description for timestamps. Essentially what we're going to do is we're going to go through the three main elements of SOS Training. So there are the skills, field charms, and the reward upgrades. We're then going to look at the skills tree itself and how it goes together, the difference between the hexagonal icons and the square icons, and how that all works. We'll then look at the new currencies and how to get them, and then we'll look at some of the playtesting I've done this morning. We're wondering how effective these things are going to be, and they are pretty damn effective. And then we'll have a conclusion. We'll go through what I have experienced so far with it, and what possibly they could do next, building on these skills trees, and the longevity of the game, because there are some weird things in the game. And then we'll have a slight teaser for the next episode of Resist, where we deep dive into the code, thanks to people who are very good at that sort of thing. So now we're going to look deeply into the three main elements of SOS Training. So the first element is skills. So the first one we're going to look at is the Potion Mastery. That's the Efficiency Mastery, or Efficacy how good the potions are. So that improves the quality and potency of a potion, and there are skill modules for pretty much each individual potion. So you'll improve the Exterminator potion, for example. So yes, that's pretty cool. Allows you to pick the potions you use. For example, I would ignore healing potions because I don't really use them. Then you have Potion Brewing Mastery, which basically reduces the base brewing time. Now, because base brewing time, I think it's compounded by Master Notes. So if you get 10% off the base, Master Notes is 15% on top of that 10%. So you'll get an increase of more than 10% once you apply Master Notes, which is pretty cool. Next one is Departure Denial, which decreases the chances of a Foundable departing on you. Thank God, because they cranked that one right up after the rework. I think they mastered it purely to do this, which would make sense because in order to get a greater effectiveness across the whole skills tree, you're going to need to bring the departure rates up higher so you can actually make a nice decrease as you apply the skills tree, which does make sense, but was extraordinarily infuriating while we wait for the skills tree. For that one, you have a general departure denial nodes, and also you have one where you pick a particular family.
Editing me here, right. So with the departure denial stuff, it works much like a door draft. So if a Foundable was going to depart, you would see it start the departure animation, and then you get your 14% chance of getting a denial, and that's when you'll see a departure denial the same way as a door draft works.
Next one is Spell Mastery. That improves the chances of capturing the Foundable itself. So you have the departure denial, which is your kind of like defense, and you have spell mastery, which is kind of your offense. So you combine the two together, and you should be quite a happy bunny. Again, with that one, you can pick your family as well on the tree. Now, when I say pick your potion or family, some of the nodes, of course, as you work your way down, will only apply to a certain family. So you can decrease the departure rates of magical games and sports, for example. Now you have some element of choice of which ones you want to pick. However, some nodes do depend upon other ones. So you need to unlock, say, a magical games and sports one, and underneath would be a dark arts one. The good thing is that most of these nodes on the tree have levels, so you can hit it 1, 2, 3, 4 times till you master it, which is cool, but you only need to do it once to unlock the node below. So if you really want the one underneath, hit the first one once, and then you can hit the next one. The second part is the field charms. These are now what we can use on the map, and you have the funky icon in the bottom right hand corner as you go around. So these ones have some funky names, which I'm going to murder. So first you have the trace charm. So you cast Pario Vestigius onto traces. Essentially it's like placing a dark detector on an individual trace. The higher your skill in this area, the more traces that will be revealed, and the more rare they will be. Next we have the In charm, and that is for all players in the area. So if you cast Tribunimus on an inn, energy will appear on the map around it. The higher your skill in this area, the more energy on the map will appear, and also the energy rewards from the inn itself, if you spin it, will be higher. The greenhouse charm, which is also for all players, casts Celestia on greenhouses. This is similar to the inn charm, but for rare ingredients. The higher your skill, the more ingredients appear on the map. You'll also increase the yield when you pick up a plant at the inn. This one I have tested, so if you go to the playtesting section, or if you hang around until the testing section, you'll actually see this one in action. So these work by dragging and dropping, much like you use the hexes and stuff in fortresses, but you can only use them so many times, and these are called charges. Now you can recharge your charges through daily tasks, and Lynette this morning posted one, and it was the 0.25 kilometers walking one. Now actually rewards you a charge on each. Which is cool. Now you have the charges on the left hand side, you have a slash, you have another number which is your cap, much like your ingredients vault has a cap, and you can increase that obviously by going through the skills tree. Finally you have rewards upgrades. This is food from inn, so you get more spell energy, treasure trunks, so the chances of better rewards from treasure trunks. These are the ones on the foundable pages where you get a little bar that fills up and goes ping at the end. There's that one, and then also gifts, and that's better gifts for friends. So now we're going to look at the SOS Skills Tree. First look like a normal skills tree, however there's no vertical line. This means to get further down the tree you do not need to unlock the previous nodes. You do however need to be a certain wizarding level. Now this is really good because up until this point there has been no real purpose in leveling up your character other than making traces easier. These levels do not go linearly, so it's not 4, 5, 6 all the way up to level 60. It does do gaps the further you go up. So you need to make a 5 level gap before you can get up to the next tier, etc, which makes a lot of sense. So as we look at the tree, the square icons are all to do with the field charms and boosting those. The hexagonal icons are all to do with the skills and the rewards. The way to tell the difference between the rewards and skills is the rewards always have a little up arrow on them. Now of course, as you're working through the skills tree and you're applying these plus 2-3% bonuses, you really want to see just how much you are applying overall, and that is where the summary page comes in. Now if you look at the summary page, this gives you basically a summary, obviously, of everything you've done so far, and you can see all your weak points and all your strengths, which is pretty good. The summary page I found on the professions side for the fortresses is a bit near. This one is actually very handy. So now of course we move on to currencies, because it's not all for free. You just can't work your way through it for nothing, right? So we revealed back in the Resist series that a new currency was coming. So we saw this on the horizon. Make sure you like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for the Resist series if you want to see some of the secret stuff that may or may not be appearing in game But yes, I said about currency, we have 3. So your red books and your scrolls that you currently have are useless for this skills tree. However, restricted section books are useful. So that's pretty cool. They go across both skills tree. So what are these currencies and how do they work? Well, firstly, we have the dark arts books. These are available from events such as brilliant events and wizarding weekends. They will be awarded from the tasks, not the foundables. So as you go through a task, you could get rewarded some of these books. So basically any event that we have that has a task list is probably going to have DADA books. Ministry manuals is the next one. You awarded these for placing foundables in either the main registry, exploration, or the challenge registry. Now for some weird reason, the challenge pages will need to be bronze or higher in order to count. Also the mystery pages that everyone's long forgotten about, those ones with the story clues, they also don't count. Though they've not been updated since release, so no one's actually doing those. They're also not available from the Brilliant Registry pages either. Field guides. So these are basically the scrolls of it, because I'm picking up loads of field guides left, right and centre. So when you return a foundable on the map, you have a chance of getting a field guide. Yes, RNG is back. The higher the threat of the foundable, the higher the chance of getting a field guide. So we now have to go through the RNG of spellcasting, the departure RNG, and then the field guide RNG. So that's easy. So yes, these seem to be the scrolls of the currencies because it's really hard to spend them all, and they will come up pretty darn quickly. For example, I imagine DADA books, they only come during events. Field guides only come every day. So I imagine we'll get lots and lots of field guides, and we'll be waiting for Dada books. I imagine that's how it's going to go. Interesting with the ministry manuals, it adds a bit of a new dynamic to repeat image collection. Now, I previously had stopped placing images in repeat image collection. I got to the point where I get the green star, hit the green star, and then collect them all up again to hit cap at that point, because I was saving them for when I got the page prestige to the next level, and those numbers will carry over. But now I have a chance of getting ministry manuals, which is a bit of a booger. Makes things a lot more complicated. So what I'm doing now with repeat image collection, this is another video coming up by the way, of the pro's guide to repeat image collection. I had to pause it because this was coming out and I knew it was going to have an effect. So basically on any page that isn't gold, and if I place the green star and I go around again, if I hit cap that second time, I will look at the other foundables on that page. Now, if I have a more rare foundable at less than halfway to its green star, I will then prestige that image. This is because I'm pretty sure I can fill that image all the way up to 100% again by the time I get the other half of the more rare foundable that I need. So now down to play testing. I've been out this morning for around about half an hour as I dropped a little one off at nursery. So I am lucky enough to have a greenhouse just up my road. So I tried the field charm on it and it revealed 2 bitter roots. I haven't really invested in this skill yet, so it's going to have limited impact, but that was pretty cool. So we know bitter root's one of the ingredients. I kind of hope snowdrops is another one, but yeah, that's pretty good. So I had play tested for around about half an hour and did not have one departure, although afterwards I did play and I had a brilliant depart on me and a giant's helm depart on me. Now once you encounter a foundable, you usually get the threat clock and you usually skip it, but if you actually let it play through, you can see just how much of an impact you have on the clock itself. So you'll see how much your spell mastery has an effect, and how much your potion has an effect, and how much your foundable specific mastery has an effect. So I took an interesting approach to the skills I chose. Basically, I was going to hit every departure denial I could find. This led to an interesting balance of the currencies, because I seriously ran out of ministry manuals very quickly. But then I had still 1,000 odd field guides. So at that point I got more manuals, and then I went back to the very top of the lessons. I went through the spell mastery and the potions one as well. I'm not saying this is the way to do it, but it's the way I did do it. But I'm just saying, if you're going to go for one thing, you're going to run out of ministry manuals pretty quickly. And at that point, you'll have a lot more of the other currencies. So you got to be a little careful where you go, because you can kind of block yourself, really. Now, after doing all that, I actually managed to have a reasonable amount, or similar amount, of each of the currencies, apart from the funky Dada books. So now I have Departure Denial at plus 14%, which is pretty good. Seems to have quite a decent effect. It's not going to make up for Daughter Draft Potions, so Daughter Draft Potions are not redundant, okay? I have applied a few of the reductions in brew time, but they seem to need the most amount of effort to get a decent result from. Personally, ingredients are my bottleneck. I usually run out of ingredients more than I run out of brewing slots, so I won't really be pursuing that one, at least until we see how well the spells on inns work to get those rare ingredients. If they're still going to bottleneck me on rare ingredients, then there's no point in me improving the brew time. So in conclusion, the skills tree along with the field charms have added a whole new dynamic to the game. With field charms, there's another reason to gather your friends in the real world and actually play together, because you can share on the resources which inns and greenhouses give you. In terms of how this makes the gameplay from going from beginner to veteran, I find it all a bit strange. I say typically games get harder as you progress, but Wizards Unite seems to get easier. Well, the grind gets easier, but the registry obviously gets harder to complete. As you finish all the easier foundables, of course it becomes harder to get the rare ones, and then of course wizarding levels also get harder to achieve as you go up the ranks. So what I feel we need now in the game, this is a personal thing, but I think we need level unlocked foundable pages, so pages that can only be unlocked when you get to certain levels, because at the moment having a dragon attack you at high levels in this game is about as damaging as a warm breath of air. So we kind of need something that only skilled SOS members can see and deal with. So, only a level 40 has the perception to be able to see, actual Voldemort and defeat him as a foundable. Because I remember when I first played the game and I came across my first Horned Serpent, and it completely annihilated me. And I kind of missed the challenge, because it's all a bit RNG still. Because it's, I'm rolling the dice if I catch you, you're rolling the dice if you depart. I can load the dice a little better now, but it's still a lot of RNG. There's no huge amount of skills to it. That's why people like Fortresses a lot, because there's a bit more skill to Fortresses. So what do I think about this new feature itself? Well, I actually love it. I was getting close to abandoning the game and closing down the YouTube channel, and I'm making it up. I was actually very close to doing it, because, well, I say I'm not as popular as a lot of other channels, which isn't a big deal because they're all nice friends of mine, which is pretty cool. But the actual game's getting really frustrating. For example, that grind and constant departures was driving me nuts after the rebalance. Peeves being one of the hardest little buggers to catch. He would always depart after 1 or 2 shots, and which kind of sounds kind of right, really, in terms of canon. But yeah, I was pretty close to calling it a day. But yeah, it's brought a whole new breath of life into the game, which is cool. I think the only thing that was actually keeping me going was actually having the YouTuber friends and everybody else in the community, and you guys talking to me on Twitter and stuff. So that kind of kept me going, really. Not the actual game, which is kind of a bit weird. But now I think it's definitely going to keep me going for a little bit longer now. So without spoiling anything, looking at sort of the resist info and looking into the code, it looks like the developers were playtesting these features way back in November 2019. There is some code in there floating around about a play test, and in November 2019 was a date for it. So that was pretty cool. So subscribe and click on the bell to be alerted for new episodes of Resist if you're like into potential spoilers. Now these things may or not make it into game. They are things that they kind of tinker around with in the back. But it does look like we have a new family coming and a new character coming to the storyline. So Lynette will be interested in that one, although she probably won't want to be spoiled about it. So going forward from this point, am I going to keep concentrating? I think I've done enough Departure Denial to keep me comfortable now. I think Spell Mastery is what I'm going to go for next. But I kind of got to work my way down the skills tree now, I think, a little bit. I'm a bit of a completionist, so I kind of like it ought to be nice and even, but we'll see as I work my way through it what takes my fancy, and of course what books they require, because some of them, Dada books, are only available from events, so I'm not going to get any more Dada books until the next event comes up. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Tell me what you're concentrating on and how effective you see these things on your gameplay. I seem to see an effect, a pretty substantial one. I'd say we've only really scratched the surface of these spells. Even at my level, I've only unlocked a small percentage of what's actually there. So that's pretty damn good, I think. So we have a Wizarding Weekend coming up on Saturday. And I don't think I'll be able to get a video out for that. But one thing I can tell you, it does not have Dada books in it as rewards. So it's a bit of a bugger, really. So the next video will probably be the Resist one, where we go and look into these new pages, new foundables, and new characters coming to the storyline. So it looks like they are going to progress the storyline a little more this year, as in more than 0 last year. So until next time, brush up on your spells, get your ones ready, Wizards Unite.